Well, my dear brothers and sisters, a very, very blessed and Merry Christmas to you all. I want to wish in a very special way a word of welcome to those who are visiting. Maybe you're here with a family member or a friend. Maybe you're because you got our postcard in your mailbox, whatever. You are very, very welcome. And we wish you and your family a blessed Christmas in these challenging days. Let us continue to strive to celebrate the great mystery of this child God who delights in us and who has made us for himself. My dear friends, 5 years ago, this coming Sunday, December 27th, I will commemorate the loss of my mother. My mom passed away at the Little Sisters of the Poor. She suffered with ALS, very rapid form of ALS. And the last several months of her life were beautiful. We as a family were able to be there with her, to celebrate Mass in a room, and to offer our apologies and to receive our apologies. It was a beautiful, grace-filled few months. But I will tell you that my mother's struggle in those last years of her life, as the ALS began to overtake her before it was diagnosed, the struggle that really was hard for her wasn't even so much the body that was surrendering to the illness. As my father has shared, and I don't believe this is any betrayal of memory, as my father has shared, the great struggle within my mother's heart was the nagging question, am I lovable? My dear, beautiful mom thirsted for love. And we had a wonderful upbringing, don't misunderstand me, beautiful upbringing with fights and tears and laughter, normal upbringing. And we experienced the great love of God, and we knew that my parents loved each other. But my mom, maybe it's because she was Irish Catholic, had all kinds of guilt inside, whatever, struggled with that question, have I been a good enough mom? Do my kids love me? Am I needed? It's my belief, my dear brothers and sisters, that this Jesus who comes on this feast day gave to my mom his own heart. That at the end of time, as my mother rises from the grave, her heart, which thirsts for love, her heart, like all of our heart, wanting to know that we are needed, that our life has purpose and meaning, we will know the love of God and the love of neighbor, and the beauty and wonder of my mom's life will be made manifest to her eyes. She will have the heart of the Christ child. Christ will give her his own heart, beating within his little frame this day. About 7 years ago, I had the great fortune of traveling with the Archdiocese to Kenya. And as we were in Kenya as part of an archdiocesan delegation, we visited an orphanage for deaf boys. We were there to celebrate Mass and to join with the local bishop of the area in a dedication of a building of some sort. I don't exactly remember. My memories are flooded with the faces of these darling little children, these boys so full of life, full of smiles, banging the drums with incredible ferocity. These boys with so much life in front of them, but who couldn't hear anything. They couldn't hear a thing. They could feel the vibrations on the ground, and they couldn't sing the songs that the sisters had taught them. Rather, they mumbled them because they'd never heard human speech. And these boys, who had been given to the orphanage because their own parents couldn't support them or were street children, they had struggled in their life in ways that we can't imagine. This child laid in the manger, this God who is a little baby, will give to those boys his own ears, his own lips, and they will hear at the resurrection of the body the sound of angels and the voice of the Father forever. You are loved, you matter. And their lips will sing forever, accompanying their powerful drumming. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace to people of good will forever. This child will give to those little boys, those deaf and dumb boys, his own ears, his own lips. And then 12 years ago, I had just begun my time at the cathedral, and I got to know a wonderful couple, Tom and Renee. I got to know them because Renee was going through the RCIA process. Renee was raised in a very, very prayerful evangelical household. But she heard the voice of God through the witness of her husband and through her own life of prayer, which was devout and beautiful and powerful, the invitation of Jesus to become a Catholic. And so she pursued that process despite the real challenges. You can imagine being raised in an evangelical household, becoming Catholic, a little awkward. And yet she did it. And while she was in the process of RCIA, she and Tom conceived a child. And shortly thereafter, that child was diagnosed with a terminal illness in utero. In utero. And we all prayed. We all gathered around her during those RCA sessions, and we prayed for this wonderful couple who had done everything right. Everything. And we prayed for her child, little Claire Elise. And I remember when Claire was born. I remember because I headed to the Children's Hospital in Minneapolis. And I entered the natal ward there. And I found not a child wrapped in swaddling clothes, but in tubes. And she was surrounded, beautiful little baby, not by shepherds, but by nurses who looked with anxiety and with love and with bewilderment. Now tell me, Father, why does your God allow this? And I remember baptizing little Claire and confirming her. And again, praying for a miracle. 2 weeks later, we had her funeral at the cathedral. A powerful, difficult funeral, but one also full of faith. Because even in the midst of that terror, that couple still believed. They still believed in the goodness of God, even then. I will never forget Tom walking down the aisle of the cathedral with his beautiful daughter and her little casket in his arms, not accompanying his daughter to be married down an aisle, but to lay her to rest. This child who was born for all of us will give to Claire Elise his own body. That child who was laid into the tomb by her father, he literally got into the grave to lay his daughter in the tomb. That child will be given the body of Jesus, and his own flesh will manifest Claire's beauty and power. And it's my firm belief, I have waged my life on it, that when Tom and Renee reach that pearly gate that we all long for, there will be Claire waiting as a young woman, and she will embrace her parents and she will say to them, I have prayed for you and I have loved you. Welcome home. Her own body will be made whole by his. You all come tonight with struggles, with challenges, with issues. You all come with your own stuff. My brothers and sisters, for unto you a child has been born, unto you. You who feel lost and forgotten, dreams set aside, disappointments penetrating deep within. He has come for you. And it is true. He will not save us with a wave of the hand. He will not simply blink his little eyes and make all of the suffering go away. He will not. That is not the true Messiah. Rather, he will enter into it. He will enter into that grave himself and will lay himself down. his own flesh, which will be crucified, which will be not burned, it will be whipped, it will be flagellated. This Jesus body, this Christ whose ears will hear the jeers of the crowd, whose lips will be kissed with Judas's betrayal. This Jesus who knows what it is to be abandoned, who knows what it is to be forgotten. By his own experience of suffering, he will enter into the darkness and will begin to make it right. Now, this is the beginning of the story, this celebration of the Nativity. It is the first chapter. There's more to come. And by that I mean even more than Calvary. I mean the end, when the Lord will come again in glory and power and might. And he will come to those whom he has saved, those who have questioned whether or not their lives were meaningful, those who have waited for their bodies to be made whole, those who have laid to rest children. He will come to you. He will come to you, and light will shine forever. This is why we kiss and we venerate this child. He's not simply a vague symbol of new beginnings. He is, in fact, the one who will die for us. He will take our place. He will take from his own heart, and give it to us. He will give us his ears and his lips. He will give us his body so that we might shine forever. This little child has been made for the cross. Oh, come, let us adore this little one who will make all things new and who knows full well the price of love. He does not offer cheap grace, a wave of the little hand. He will pay for his love for you. He will bleed for love of you. He will die for love of you. And he will save you and make you sing forever in heaven.